YouTube family, what's good? I'm coming to you live from the beach, baby. Oh, right here, maybe I should film this way. But this week's podcast is all about examining your beliefs and how to stop making your life so hard. So make sure you listen to this entire podcast with Weslie. She gives you a tool how to examine your beliefs that, no joke, can transform your life, and she will tell you how it transformed her life. Woo, it's good. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, subscribe, tell a friend, save the world. Let's go. Weslie, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, Ben.
Why are you good?
Well, I just talked to you for an hour. I feel like I feel like I was the lucky one. Like I broke the ice with you. Mm-hmm. You had the harder job. We were cold calling before.
No, this is good. Like I feel really good. Like look how I'm just chilling.
You are. You're pretty comfy.
I'm pretty comfy. Yeah, like seriously, I really do love this. Anyway, why I'm just saying I just love like the vibe of like the room and the studio record in, just because like it changes the feeling. So anyway, that's what I'm saying. But yes, we just recorded for your podcast. I'm curious, was Wake Up with Weslie always a thing, or did you just think of that, or how long has that existed?
Oh, it was never a thing.
Okay.
Even when I started, I bought the equipment to start a podcast. I didn't have a name. I started recording my friends and like Bronson, my husband, and I did a solo episode thinking like, maybe this is just for me. I'll see if I like this. And up until we had a deadline, we wanted to start January 1st because it was a Wednesday. So it's Wake Up with Weslie on Wednesdays. And I was like, January 1st is the first Wednesday of 2020. And if you listen to my first episode, I'm like, 2020 is it. It's going to be the best year of our lives. And I'm like laughing, listening back. I'm like, I had no idea. We had no idea what 2020 was going to bring. But no, it was not an idea until 2 days before I had to register it on Apple. I still didn't have a name. It
was 2 days before?
No name. It was crazy.
That is crazy.
I know.
Does it surprise you how successful it is?
Yes. Honestly, Ben, I choose to ignore it.
What do you mean? So do you not check your stats, or do you check your stats?
I check them for the ad people because they're like, what's this number? What's this number? And I'm like, oh my God. It just kind of freaks me out. The more listeners, the more I'm like, oh shit. This is a wide audience. And I think that it's a little bit of my own stuff coming up because I'm like, I want my nature is to make everyone happy.
Yes. Which we kind of just talked about.
Yeah.
On your podcast.
But you can't make everyone happy when you got so many listeners, thousands and thousands of listeners. You just can't do it.
I know. So
I'm learning how to sit in that.
So like you and like what I wanted, like you said, like we came in here like, I don't know what I'm going to ask you. You don't have any notes. I'm like, nope. Like I just know how like this is going to go. Because when I was, doing my reconnaissance, like listening to a bunch of things you said one time that you lived your life 26 years in fear. Then earlier today you said 33. Which one? Or both?
Okay, here's the truth. 26 years in white knuckling fear, and then probably 5 loosening that grip.
Okay, I like
and
that.
then this is the first year where I'm like, all right. I'm kind of standing on my own 2 feet. Feels good.
That is really cool. Like, so. And again, like, I think this is really important. We've already talked about this, but I wanted to ask you about this. Is when you released, so on your podcast, when you talk about your spiritual growth, and I like how you talk about it in the sense of, it's not like you were completely changing your mind and then like damning this old way of living that you used to do, and then you're just like completely shifting. I like how do you say it?
I say expansion.
Expansion.
I expanded my faith.
Which I love that.
So that was like the scariest one I've ever released. And it was recently, it was within a month of now. And Yeah, it was really scary because where we live and all of my loved ones and my friends. And if for the listeners who don't know, I was raised Mormon, which 90% of the population here in Utah, where we're both from, we are. And it's just a way of life. Like it crosses state boundaries. It crosses school boundaries. Like it's just the way you do life here. And when I really sat down and started this deep, I began to know myself at 26. And release the fear at 26.
I love this. And so release the fear, like how did you begin to release it?
I started asking myself what I wanted.
Oh, yes. Okay, keep going. Because I wanted to ask you about this. I think, and then was this also what you like wrote down what you believed?
Yep.
Was that the same thing?
Yes.
Will you tell everyone about this? Because I think most humans, I don't think you got this idea from, it was just like inspired within you, right?
Yeah. It was just inspired within me. And then I was watching Netflix like 4 months later and Marie Kondo was doing this thing. She was like cleaning out a closet and she was like, hold these items that you've kept for all these years, hold them up to you. And if they spark joy, you keep them. And then the ones that you don't, you let go. And I was like, holy shit, that's what I've been doing with my beliefs for the last 4 months. I was like, there was something in the cosmos, like, but that came out at the same time. But that's what I was doing quietly by myself. I didn't tell a soul. My husband barely knew. He was working a lot. But what happened was, I mean, my story. Do you want to hear my story? Should I tell your listeners a little bit of the story?
Yeah, for sure. Of course.
So I'm just a normal person, man. I grew up normal. There's unique parts of my childhood. I went to 11 different schools, so I moved around more than the average kid. That was unique to me. Another unique thing was I got pregnant at 19.
Yeah.
My husband and I were married, and we had our first child at 20. We were both barely 20. I had my second kid just right after, 3 kids before I'm 26. And like I said, I was white knuckling my life through fear. Like, oh my gosh, what do we do? We're married now. We have a family now. I got to act like a mom. I got to be a wife. And I just was doing what everyone told me I should do. And I loved my family. I loved my kids. I loved being a mom.
So when doing like the family was like doing what people told you to do?
I wanted that. That's one thing I wanted.
Okay.
But just the way that we lived our life, like my husband, he's a creative and he did not thrive in a 9-to-5. But I was like, no, you have to have a 9-to-5. We have 3 kids.
Did you actually tell him that?
Yes. He was like, I think I want to start a clothing company. I was like, hell no, with what money, what time? Like we were on food stamps. We had nothing. And I was like, that's a nice dream. It's not attainable for us right now. Like look at our lives. Like,
did you ask your parents for help or were you just legit?
We had never received $1 from either one of our parents. And that was pride on my part. I would not. And I think because I got pregnant and everyone around us was like, you're irresponsible and da-da-da-da-da, and you're going to have to change your life. The deepest part of me was like, I'm going to prove to you. I'm not going to ask any one of you for help. But they did help us in many ways. Like we would become homeless randomly, live in their basements. They would feed us dinner, but never once did we ask for $1. We never.
That's pretty cool.
It was. I'm actually like really proud of it because we hustled. But it was a hustling that was not in alignment with who we were because I was so scared. Because life was always such a struggle that we got into that that it was just the way life was. Like life was hard and the next year was harder. And then even when my husband would get a better job, it was like the same hard. Even when we finally made money, it was like, it just was the pattern. Struggle.
Okay. Oof, Wes, I love that. So you said it's the same hard.
It was the same hard, different day.
Have you talked about this before?
No.
I really like this. So the same hard. So what does that mean?
The same hard for me was never having enough. Always worried about what was coming, never feeling secure, and always physically moving, never being in one place, never planting roots. And I hated it, and I continued to do it for years and years and years and years.
I love this. Why do you, looking back at it now, why did you keep doing that?
It was all I knew. It was how I lived. I knew that life is hard. Life is a struggle.
Were you told that? Or
yes.
did you just...
Yes.
And then you saw it, so you recreated it?
Yes, I recreated it. Even though I hated it, I still recreated it. I didn't know another way. And then with beliefs and you throw in kids and souls and God
Souls and God.
and you are scared shitless. I was 26, 3 kids, poor as dirt, scared shitless, with a husband who is a dreamer and a risker. And I'm like, oh, I am terrified.
Oh, even your voice. Oh,
I'm so scared. It was so scary. But
like, were you scared that you were just going to run out of money, or like
all the time?
Okay.
All the time. We were just on the last few dollars of the paycheck, month after month, year after year. And a lot of personal things happened right around the 25, 26, 27 age range, where I think I just hit my bullshit limit. and my husband too. We both hit our personal rock bottoms at the exact same time.
Which is pretty cool.
It was, looking back, such a blessing.
Yeah.
Because
that's rare for both people to hit that.
Oh my gosh. And it was perfect, because when you're at rock bottom, I don't know how many of your listeners have been at rock bottom, but you almost need to like isolate. Maybe not need to, but it's just what comes natural. Like you like just go into your little shell, you feel it. And we separated at that time because his life was a shit show. My life was a shit show.
And is that when he moved?
Yeah, he moved to LA. Or no. He moved to San Diego. And I stayed in Utah, and I was like, I am just in suffering and pain, and I don't think any of this life is mine. And he was in suffering and pain, and he didn't feel like any of his life was his. He actually was addicted to doctor prescribed Adderall. So he took it.
Yeah.
He had ADD, and the doctor gave it to him. I was totally on board. And he accidentally overdosed when my youngest was 3 months old. I saw it. I was there.
So you were or were not separated?
We weren't at that time.
Okay.
So I saw that, and I had been telling him for a year, like, yo, this is written on the wall. This is terrible for you. Like, you are not you. And he was like, now him speaking to me about it, he was like, no, you don't understand. Like, that's how I thought that was the only way that I could provide for the family. Like, me doing that, my body becoming dependent on that chemical substance that was doctor prescribed was how I provided for the family. If I stopped, I couldn't make money. We had 3 kids.
Because he was providing because of where, just to like function and make money? Okay, yeah. Provide, okay.
Provide. And I was a stay-at-home mom. We didn't have a second income. So he was like, what else are we going to do if I'm off this? I can't show up to work. And that was his fear speaking, and a lot of his false ideas about himself. But it just created this divide within both of us that was, in my opinion at that time, irreparable. I was like, the trust is gone. This family that I love, it is broken. There's no going back. Wow. So he moved to California. I stayed in Utah. And I, too, was going through a crazy rock bottom. I was suffering with, it's called, I think I had, what is it called when you're depressed after you have a baby?
Oh,
postpartum. So I was dealing with postpartum, and then I had body dysmorphic disorder, which is just a wild mental, I literally did not see myself when I looked in the mirror. It was like horrific.
Yeah, that's wild.
It was so weird.
Is that like, because I know that's a thing, because I've heard more about that, but is that related to like the pregnancy too, or is that something completely different?
I think it was tipped off by pregnancy, stress, lack of sleep,
just all the
things. Trauma, and years, honestly, Ben, years of just hating myself. Years of it. It came up and erupted like a volcano. Like, all of a sudden I was in this shit fest of a life with 3 kids I couldn't even provide for. Yeah. My husband just accidentally overdosed. We were separating, and then I looked in the mirror and saw not me looking at myself.
Like, can you remember what were you looking at?
Oh, I can see it clear as day. I looked, and it would morph too. It would look like I was a scary guy from Beetlejuice, or like just me, but distorted. A distorted version of myself. Like, have you ever been to a carnival and you look in a mirror, like those wonky mirrors, and you can tell it's you, but it's not you. It's like I disassociated myself from myself. I honestly think it was like a spiritual awakening for me, because I was so disconnected with who I was that it manifested physically for me, like mental illness. Body dysmorphic disorder is like a mental illness. And I was so afraid to tell anyone what was happening to me, because for one, I would be judged. Yeah. And 2, I thought that they could take my kids away. Like, I thought I'd be like sent to the Looney Tune if I told people like, yo, I see a monster when I see myself in the mirror. I'm not well. So I didn't tell anyone for about a year until it kind of was getting better. And I was like, hey, like, I'm not seeing myself in the mirror. And even then they were like, what do you mean? You're beautiful. What do you? But But only probably 5 years later, I finally was like, that was gnarly, like crazy rock bottom for me.
So you're 26. So how long were you and Bronson apart?
We were separated for probably 4 months.
And then where were you living at that time?
My parents' house.
And then how old was your youngest?
She was 6. Yep. Yeah, she was 6. So I had a 6-year-old, 3-year-old, and then a newborn baby.
Okay.
And Bronson was living away, and he would come and visit, and it would be good. He totally got healthy and clear. He was off the prescription medications, and he was back. He was like vibrant. He was living in his like, I could tell he was himself and he was whole. But I was so wounded. I was so pissed. I was so in my own shit that I was like not wanting to see that. I didn't want to believe that he was good.
Really?
Oh, no. I was mad. A woman scorned then? I was pissed. I was pissed.
Scorn of a woman. The name of your second podcast.
I was pissed. I was unwilling to see his healing because I wasn't healed.
Wow, I love this. Okay, so, man, that's beautiful. But like also, that's such like a...
It's painfully beautiful.
Real.
It's like accurate, right? It's just accurate.
So this is... So I want to come back to you, but like for him, so were you ever thinking like about him, hoping like or trusting, or was it you were just so much in your pain you didn't really think about anything else?
I was 1 foot in the door and 1 foot out of the door. And I did that kind of in my mind looking back as like a a safety net. Because if I fully like loved him, then I was guarding my heart. I didn't want to be hurt again. And I had been hurt before, and I was like, I just can't go
hurt
back.
From him or just what?
Life. Just hurt from life. Okay. Hurt from, it felt like a betrayal, like, because it was like what we talked about on my podcast. I felt like my opinion didn't matter. Because I was like, I don't like this. I'm not comfortable with this. And he was like, well, I'm doing it anyways. And I was just like, there's no going back for me. Okay. But he would come back and he was better. And he was like, just, what are we doing? We love our family. We love these kids. Let's just give it one more shot. And so I was like, all right, I'll give it one more shot. Cool. The whole time planning, like, okay, I'm going to milk this for a year and I'm bouncing.
Were you really?
Oh, 100%. I tell him all the time. I was like, I was using you in my mind.
So you tell him now, but not at that time.
No, not at that time. I was like, I was 100% just going to buy some time and then get the hell out of Dodge because I was not stoked. I was not stoked. But in that year, we moved to San Clemente, California, and it was like a little healing hub. And in this place, in San Clemente, he worked long hours. I was alone with the kids. I didn't have any of my people from my life, no family members, no friends. I was alone. And this was such a gift for me. And people are afraid of being alone a lot, right? People are scared to feel lonely. They're scared to feel isolated. I was alone in this house with only children who wouldn't talk back to me. And I started to dissect my thoughts and my beliefs. And I felt so unwell within myself. And we didn't have resources. Like I said, we were always dirt poor, living paycheck to paycheck. I didn't have the luxury to call a therapist. I feel like we didn't even have health insurance at that time. Like I couldn't even go to a doctor. So I was like, this is on you. You better get busy, get on YouTube, read some books, start journaling. I just used the resources that I had during nap time. And I started writing down what I believed. And when I started doing that, it's maybe one of the most powerful practices I've ever done in my life.
This needs to be, you were talking about physical products because you're selling merch. This needs to be something.
It does?
For real. So please describe like everything, like tell me, like, what would you write? Was it just like,
I started one day and it wasn't a thought, but I could feel it. It was stirring inside of me. I was like, something about the way I present myself and the way I actually am is disconnected. I could realize that, but I didn't know what it was. So I thought the only way that I could figure it out was to examine my beliefs. So I started with family. What do I believe about my family?
That's so cool.
What do I believe about what it means to be a mother?
And do you still have this notebook?
Yeah, I have it. It's like one of my most prized possessions.
Yeah, I was going to say, damn, so what would it say?
So I would say what I believe being a mother is it's just a relationship between me and my kid. And then I would look at like how I was acting, and I recognized that I was acting in a way that society told me I should behave as a mother. I should be doing arts and crafts, and I should be making homemade meals and have them look really cute. And I didn't give a shit about that stuff. But I would do it because society tells me that that's a way to be a good mother. And when I did that stuff with my kids, I just felt like tired and worn out and like, when is this over? Am I like, check mark, good mom, am I done? But when so I recognized that, I wrote it down, and I just started being like,
Cool.
okay, the relationship is all that matters. I just want to have like fun with my kids today. And I worked on just the relationship, and the other bullshit fell to the wayside. Like, my kids don't need to do arts and crafts with me. And I'm okay with that. Like, that's not how we connect. And then I did that same thing with my husband. And then I looked at our family structure, and then I expanded and I went into religion. And that was a big one, because I realized that not a lot of myself, my true authentic self, was in alignment with the organization that I was raised in. And I was like, what? If this isn't in alignment, my life I'm a fraud. I'd built my life upon this. And that was a big one to dissect. But it went like a layer cake. Every single day I just added a layer of what's true to me, what's not true to me. And I sifted and sorted until, it was months. Until I had a nice little list of like,
Wow.
This is what I believe.
That's so cool. Like, I'm not sure what you call it, like a belief journal, but
I don't know either.
I don't know if that exists, but that's beautiful. And the fact that you've found that on your own, like most people, and now it's like a popular thing to find out like, what are my limiting beliefs, right? Which is amazing. And like, that's what I help people do, right? But it's like, why I love this is because like sometimes what I tell clients is like, I'm going to show you how you don't need me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I love like this is like, it's very empowering of just like, I love it. It's so simple too, of what do I believe? Okay. Is my reality
Mirroring
congruent?
that.
Yeah. Mirroring that. And then if no, then you're like, okay, I will address it this way.
I talk about it like it was like cleaning out a junk drawer. Like, shit got real. Like, it got messier. Like, you clean out a junk drawer, right? You dump it out on the counter and there is just stuff everywhere. And you're like, what? Half of it is trash. I'm like, why are there gum wrappers in here? Why is there old broken pencils?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? So you sift it, and it gets way, 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 way worse and bigger and messier. But then the process of like cleaning it up and putting it back into the junk drawer, and you organize it, and then you have slots and containers, and you're like, okay, like it feels good. Then you shut the drawer and you move on to a cabinet, and it never stops.
And what's the cabinet?
Then it gets fun. For that, like, after the sifting and the sorting part is over, for me at least, I started to build up the things I liked. Like, I got rid of the stuff that wasn't working for me. And then it left, all of a sudden I had space for like time and energy for things that I was interested in.
Cool.
And I realized I love learning about stuff. I love learning new ideas. I love reading books. I love hanging out with my friends, and I love doing retreats. And I didn't know this about myself before. I had no idea that this is what I even liked.
Well, and what's really cool is how did you have the foresight, like when you're doing it? Because the cleanup is not fun.
No.
It's not. So did you know it was going to get better, or was it just a divine force that just you kept going? Like, do you know why you kept doing it?
I was living on a prayer. I was at such a low that I knew there was only up. Like, I was like, it can't get much worse. Like, I'll just throw this at whatever I'm doing in hopes it would work. And it really worked.
Cool.
It really did. So, and I think that there's this thing with momentum. Like, when I felt a little bit of like ease, like a little pressure was released, I could take a deep breath, and it almost gave me energy to keep going and build that good feeling vibe. Like, I became addicted to the good feeling vibes.
Cool.
And I wanted to add more and more and more of that in. And it's been a while. It's been 7 years now. I'm 33.
Yeah.
And it's been the craziest, wild, most freeing, most fun ride I've ever taken. It was hard in the moment.
Well, and like, yeah, I love that. Seriously. Yeah, I might like when I heard that, I was like, I might have to use this for clients, and I'll just like give credit to Weslie. Like,
You use it. If you come up with a title, let me know. I don't know what to call it.
yeah, we'll do something with a notebook, but like, or a journal or whatever. So earlier you were mentioning, I think this is such an important topic, and this keeps popping in my head. Just again, like the same hard, and because when you talked about momentum working in like a beneficial way that you like. And then momentum also goes in a different way of like the same hard. Looking back at it now, how were you, because I see this quite a bit, that just the same hard, like you were just familiar and addicted to suffering. And because you said, even though you hated it, like, because you mentioned earlier, life is hard, life is a struggle. You hated it, but you still did it.
It's all I knew how to do. I literally didn't know another way of being. And I will tell you too that on the flip side, so like now, 7 years later, like the freeing feeling I will have moments of being like, wait, like life shouldn't be this nice.
Well, and the same thing about between just our little break we just had, you said with money.
Oh, yeah.
That money, you didn't realize money was so easy to make.
I never knew. I never knew it could be fun. It could be exciting. It could be easy. A piece of me struggled with accepting and believing that it's easy, because I'll tell you the first time I made my own paycheck, like as like an adult woman, not doing weird side jobs that I always did. I was a singing waitress. I like waxed people's legs. I just did odd jobs my whole life. And when I started my podcast and I made my first money that was like money, I was like, no way. This is not possible. This is not possible to do something you absolutely love, that fills your cup, that you enjoy, that is serving you and serving others, and you get paid.
So Weslie, this is so different. I love that you're sharing this. Like, thank you. Because it's such a cliche to like do what you love and you'll never work in a day. But we don't talk usually about like what happens once that actually happens.
I felt guilty.
Oof.
I felt guilty for like making a paycheck off of stuff I absolutely love. It almost felt like unnatural. Like it felt too good to be true. So that's my work now, accepting this beautiful life and knowing that it is beautiful and know that the other shoe isn't going to drop. Like really feeling secure and content and happy and just drinking it in. That's another type of work, but it's enjoyable work.
So was it from like a podcast sponsor? Was that your first?
It was, that was a big, that was exciting. I was like, wow, I have sponsors. But when I started selling goods, so when I started selling the hoodies and I sold out in like 2 minutes and I thought that it was going to take me 6 months to sell out. And I literally sold out in 2 minutes.
What happened? Like,
I thought it was a glitch.
Yeah.
I called Bronze. I was like, Bronze, the site's down.
I love that.
And he's like, no, I think you sold out. And I was like, no, there's no way. And he's like, no, there's nothing left in stock. Like the site's not down. And then I was like, oh shit, this, like, what do I do now? Like, what does this mean for me? What does this mean? And it turns out it just means it's real fun.
I love this so much, like, because this is part of where self-sabotage comes in. And so why I'm really stoked and proud of you is that you didn't lean back into your area of comfort, meaning like, I'm not going to sell anything again, you know, or just because it's like, because I'm not familiar with this feeling, so I'm going to go back to what I know.
It comes up. Sometimes I have those thoughts, like, and it's never about this. It's never about the conversations that I have, but it's I was telling Ben earlier, I'm like, this thing, the task cam, like how to record equipment, like this is so out of my realm of comfort that I'm like, this part sucks of the job, right? Like this is hard. Emailing sucks. Scheduling sucks. All that shit I hate. But I'm like, it pays off. It's worth it. But there are moments where I'm in the thick of that aspect of my new life and of this joy that I get to do and create a podcast and speak to people like you, that I'm like, okay, there are shitty parts. It would be so easy to quit. I don't have to, no one's asking me to do this. I could just stop tomorrow. That thought will come up like, you know what, you could just not do this anymore. And you could just be a mom and just watch TV in the day like you used to. And that kind of sounds nice sometimes. Like not having people to answer to, having an open schedule. That would be nice.
So why don't you do it?
It doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't fulfill me. I feel like I'm doing something with my time doing this. And even if it helps no one but just myself, I feel like it's worth it.
So when you say that, do you actually mean it?
In the beginning I did. I was like, this might not be for anyone. Now, after I've been doing it 10 months and I have just proof after proof, people DM me every single day saying, and it's funny because I think they know me so well. Like, I'm sure that you feel like this on your podcast. Like, people are starting to know you, strangers.
Yeah,
they're starting
cool,
to figure you out.
At the same time,
it's kind of creepy,
yeah,
but it's like
cool.
Lovely. And you have all these people who know you, and I sense that they can sense that I'm uncomfortable with the attention, and they'll give me like little notes of encouragement, like, keep going. It matters. What you're doing, it matters. This feels good. I'm learning. I feel good on Wednesdays, and I'm like, okay. I'll keep going.
Well, and what I love about that is because you're coming at it from like just like a very real, like genuine, pure, almost like an innocence of like for you and like your brand and your podcast and just like you, like it's not like you're trying. Is like you are genuinely doing it to like obviously for your enjoyment, like for your learning. I feel like there's no like agenda.
There isn't. And
which
you know what?
Makes it really awesome.
It kind of is hard though. Because all the people like we're talking about Tony Robbins and people who like the 4-hour work week, everyone's like have a clear intention. And my intention is like, have fun. I don't know what I'm doing week after week, time after time, even with you. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to be a podcaster. I don't know how to give or conduct an interview. But I do know that it feels good when I connect with a person. So I just try to do that a little bit each and every time. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes like the chemistry isn't there. And it's not on me and it's not on the other person. It's just a vibe thing. But sometimes it's there and it feels like you like knock it out of the park and it's so fun that maybe that feeling is why I keep going. Maybe that's my drug of choice, chasing that like connection, because I love that feeling. I love feeling not alone or like I'm not the only crazy one, that life is weird and hard and beautiful for all of us in all stages of life. But that's kind of why I keep showing up. I'm chasing that connection.
I love that. And I don't think anything is wrong with like have fun. I think that's why you've been successful and that's why you stand out.
Oh, thanks.
For sure. And there's something I was going to ask about. Damn, I forgot it. It was like when we were talking, I wanted to ask this question because I thought of it like when we were talking on your podcast about, it's because when we were talking about how you sound so like energetic and on point, but then when people see you in a social setting, you're right.
Yeah. You and I, when you were talking, I was like, you and I are the same human. I totally get you. It's people get to know me deeper on the podcast because I'm in my home. I'm in my element. I'm entering like a conversation where I know, even if you and I, let's talk about you and I, we didn't say, okay, we're going to connect deeply and it's going to be great and it's going to be good. But there was, you reached out, I responded. And within that, there was an agreement that we're both going to show up.
Which is cool, right? It was just like one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool.
It's like trust. Like I built trust with you. Like you're going to drive all the way out to my house and we're going to do this thing and I'm going to trust that you're going to be open. And with that trust, I'm going to be open and we just can hope for the best. But in my real life, I think that people are like, oh, I saw Weslie and she's like quiet. She's like a hermit. I'm like I keep to myself and I have a very, very, very few people that I let in. But then I love everybody. Like I love everybody and I'm open and I'm bubbly, but like who I really choose to share my life with is a very, very, very select few. And it's just, I think it's because I love so big, so hard.
You
so
really
deep.
do. Have you always been, I assume you've been like, this is a natural state of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were going through that rock bottom state, were you still like that? Were you trying to be that?
I could
For others instead of like, what was that experience like?
I completely iced out everybody. That is like my scary drug of choice. I know I'm dark when I am not answering my mom's phone calls. When I'm not answering my best friend's phone calls. Like when I isolate and I get quiet, I am in the thick of it. And that was a lot of that year. But with my kids, if you asked them, was there ever a time that your mom was super sad or super off? They would say, no, what are you talking about? Like I faked it so good with them. I could not fake it with them. Like I would I would not let them have a mom that was incapacitated on the couch. So I would have my moments. I cried a lot. It was deep, dark for me, but I kept it very private from them because they were so little. And I'm actually really proud of my ability looking back. I was hard on myself in the moment. Looking back, I can see how I just rallied for them as best I could. Even if it was fake, it was fine. Like that's what
cool.
they needed. I know. And I think people are like, oh, you're faking it. Sometimes you got to fake it. And then it like actually evokes real joy to come through. Like you put a smile on your face long enough and you kind of actually really start to smile, or you dance around with your kid enough, then when they leave the room, you're still dancing. So it worked out well for me.
I love that. And one thing I heard you say is that like as parenting as a mom is, which I've learned, and I love that you said this, is like technically you are their earthly mom in this life, but you're really not. And I think was that, man, I really want you to tell the experience of like what happened in the bath too.
In the bath, I had the crazy Kundalini experience.
Well, was this because that's so cool? But like before you get to that, like just how you view your kids as, just tell me like how do you view them? It's like, and it's like you are you. You don't. It's like, yeah, you still have to put the mom hat on, but it's like you are you. It's
weird. Bronson and I do parenting different. I realize that. I realize this is a stretch for a lot of people. Like people get a little bit uncomfy when you talk about kids and parenting. But we decided, because there was shame in and around, not from me and not from my husband, not from Bronson, but in our community, the way that we got married, the way that I was pregnant before we got married, it was like a shameful thing. Like, oh, it was gossipy and everyone talked about it. And did you hear she's 3 months pregnant and they're getting married and you know, the way life goes. And it just was, I knew that my kids would know, and I could sense that wiser, older women around me were like, before they were even old enough to know about it, they were like, well, what are you going to say about this? Are you going to kind of like prepping me on how you're going to explain this to your kids? And my gut feeling, my gut instinct was to be like, I'm just going to tell them.
I love that.
And I'm not going to be ashamed about anything. Like,
that's cool.
These little beautiful babies that we have, Zuri, she's our firstborn. She's the one who kicked off the whole deal. She is the catalyst of our entire life. Like everything we have today is because that little girl decided to come into existence. You know what I mean? And she is such a wise little soul. I remember rocking her as a kid myself, not knowing how to care for myself, but caring for this baby, and just deeply understanding that she would be okay because she was an individual. Like
that.
She came here with her purpose, and I have my purpose. And knowing Remy, our middle, and Ozzy now, our youngest, they are so unique from one another. They are so different from Bronson and I. And it's an intuitive thing. I know that we're just here to keep them safe and to help them grow into the people that they are meant to be. And they teach us more than we teach them. And I know that flips the script for a lot of parents, but really they are here as my teacher, just as I'm here as their caretaker. But we have a mutual respect, and we listen to them.
That's so cool.
Instead of telling them what to do, we ask their opinion on what they want to do. And for each kid, it's different. Like for one kid that really works. For another kid, they totally take advantage. So we reel it back, you know, like they're not carbon copies of each other. We parent each kid individually different. But yeah, I think the little souls coming in now with the way the world is changing, with like the technology and all the information we have, and they're different kids. I look at my kids and I was not like that at 8. I was not brave like my kids are brave, and it has nothing to do with us as their parents. It's like they came here that way. And then even our neighbor kids, they're wild and like, but smarter than I ever was. Like there's something coming, and the new souls coming in are proof to me that they're wise beyond their years.
I love that. Well, and what we talked about on your podcast is like, we went through a process, and you mentioned about how, like, if you could choose like what to program into yourself is to not like believe the things that you learned that weren't you.
Believe that your stories matter.
Yeah. Well, like as far as like, because like what I'm hearing you saying, which is really cool, is you're doing exactly that you are like nourishing like the natural soul of them, of like their gift and their purpose, instead of like, of course you're human, and like every parent's gonna mess up every kid in some fashion, right? But like really just like nourish like their uniqueness, instead of trying to put on like a template or a belief or a way of life that isn't for them.
Yeah. And it's scary because sometimes a template sounds nice. Like, give me a plug and play. Someone give me an instruction manual. I'll just do that. That sounds nice. But yeah, I just knew it would not work for us. And it wouldn't. I've tried it with my kids when I'm like stressed out and I'm like, okay, throw my spiritual woo-woo way out the window. You have chores. You have a schedule. You have this. Everyone just like loses their shit. It is not, our family does not That's run funny. That way. But yeah, I've tried it because I'm like, maybe this isn't working for me. I'm always open to like trial and error, testing new ways out. And especially when they are growing as we're growing. Like what worked for me at 24 does not work for me at 33. What worked for Remy at 9 did not work for her at 6. And so it's always like I'm just constantly adapting, and I never think I have it all figured out, because I don't. Yeah. And I say that to them all the time. And they're the coolest little kids. But do you want to hear about the Aussie moment in the bath? Yes. That was when I had the craziest confirmation of my life that we make a little soul contract with these babies in wherever we come from, that it really is a mutual love. And even though I'm older than them, I'm their mother, that our souls are like right here, right? Maybe they're up here, maybe they're above me. But it was 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago. And I was in the thick of it. Like I was telling you, really in my process of deciding what is mine, what is for me, what is not for me. And it's the junk drawer scenario. Life gets messier before it got better. And it was in a messy, messy point. And I had been getting really deep into meditation, and I talked about this in one of my episodes, but I could feel inside myself that something was coming. I was on the cusp. I have a journal entry that's like, I am on the brink. Cool. I am on the cusp. Something is coming and I don't know what it is. And it was almost like infuriating.
All right, y'all, before you hear the incredible, enthralling rest of Wes's story, I want to tell you about the new men's program I have coming up. It is called Master Your Fear and Masculinity, and it is live right now. So if you are a conscious, if you are a man wanting to become and remember the incredible, powerful soul that you are, this is for you. This is a year-long program for conscious men.
And I got into the bath this day, and
I can't wait for it. This is for you if you are ready to decondition a lifetime of programming of what a man is supposed to be. If you are ready to become the confident, inspiring man you were born to be. If you are avoiding difficult conversations in relationships and just hoping that they fix themselves. If you are insecure in your job or relationship. If you have lost your voice, your identity, or direction.
Yeah, tell them.
If you are searching for
And tell me.
meaning,
'Cause
beyond
I didn't
a
know.
profession, beyond a paycheck,
So I
if you
did
are
not know what it was
uncomfortable
in the moment. I've
asking for
since
help
learned
and
after
trying
the
to do it
fact,
all
but
on your
I
own,
thought I
if you
went
are
balls
lacking
to the walls
intimacy
crazy.
and think
I thought I went
emotions or
absolutely
weakness,
crazy.
this is
So-
for you.
so I
This is
sat into
an
the bath and
incredible
immediately I felt
year-long
heat in my hands, like
program
physical
with
heat,
just
like
powerful
almost
It was
men.
like immediate.
I'm so excited for this.
Immediately. There was no
If
If this
slow
sounds
roll
like
into this.
you,
It was
then I
happening
urge you,
whether I
if you
liked
feel
it
that
or
call,
not. Like,
answer
that's
it.
what was being
Go
told me,
to
like,
the link
you
in
no
the
longer
description,
have a
in the
choice.
show notes.
This
Click
is
that
happening
link,
to you. Like,
check
get
out the
down.
deets,
So I
go
felt-
apply, and then
get down.
schedule your
Listen
complimentary
up.
call so we
So I
can
felt energy in my
go
hands
over
and
everything.
just words
Because
that were
this
in my
journey,
head
y'all, is
that
going to
were
be
not
incredible.
mine, and
I'm
they were
so
not
excited. We
thinking
have
thoughts I had.
tons
They
of
were
mentors.
downloads. And
Go
this was
click
my
that
first
link. Go check it
experience
out.
with a
And
download,
if you
meaning
know
that
an important man in your life,
thought or
if there's a
knowing
man that you
came into
love,
my mind that
that
was
you
not
feel like
mine, I
it'd be a
believed
great
from
fit,
source.
send this to them as well.
And
You can send
it
them the
was,
link,
you are powerful,
send them the
more powerful than
podcast,
you know, 'cause at that
send them
specific time
social
in my life, I
media,
felt
because we're
powerless.
discussing it. And we are
Very
going to
powerless. I
redefine
felt like I didn't have
masculinity.
control
We are
over
going
my
to
life.
step
I felt like I didn't
into
have a say.
and also redefine
So you were
femininity as
powerful,
well.
more powerful
But
than you
anyway,
know, and
go
then
check out the
I
link because this is
sat
going
up
to be
as
dope.
tall-
All right,
as
y'all. Back
straight
to
as a
Wes's
person
story.
can sit
Let's
up.
go.
And I hunch. I'm like always in the fetal position. So this is unusual for me.
Uh-huh.
And the minute I sat up, I felt energy as if it was a bottle rocket. It felt like it was from the base of my spine, shoot up through my chest. It kind of stopped at my like throat, like my heart throat center. And it almost like built up as if it like, imagine a bottle rocket going off and then like it hitting a glass ceiling, but it was still trying to reach up. And I was like, what the hell is happening? And I felt something give, and it shot up through my throat, through my crown, and sparks coming out of my head. This sounds crazy. I know.
And
This
are you
sounds
envisioning
absolutely-
this?
It's my eyes are closed, but I am seeing it in my mind's eye, clear as day. And I have to say, nothing like this has ever happened to me, obviously prior or since, unless I was on ayahuasca. So like that, I was sober in my bathtub, people. So sparks are shooting out of my head, and the sparks form a crown, and it is placed on my head, and my ego comes up, and I'm like, I got a crown. I'm like the queen of something. Like, look at this crown. It's so dope. It's mine. And immediately I was let know, like, oh, no. This is not yours. This is everybody's.
Yes.
This is like you have the power. The crown was like significant to like your own individual, like your highest self, your power. You are worthy. You are deserving, and it's not yours. This is everybody's.
I love that.
Just take it. And it was probably an hour and a half of the most beautiful experience of my life. Like tears were just coming down my face. I was receiving like insights, and I felt like knowledge. And all of a sudden, my little boy, who was 2 at the time, 2 or 3, he came in, and I could feel him come in, but I didn't even want to open my eyes. I would not like break from this moment. I could feel him come in. He took off his own little diaper, got into the water. And this is so not my son, because my son is wild beyond wild, just a free-spirited little boy. He just quietly sat on my lap and did not say a peep. And he just rested, like put his head back on my chest. And I just felt his little arms and his little shoulders and his little ears. I remember going up his little ears and just connecting with his soul. Like his adult, ageless, his essence, who he is, who he was before, who he's going to be. And I was like, oh, we came here. Like, we're here together. We're doing this thing. I'm your mother, but we're equal. And it changed me. I don't think you can have an experience like that and not be completely changed. But I've never mothered my kids the same since. Not a day. We're equal.
Man, I love that.
It's wild.
Yeah, that just like brings like a reverence. That really is like.
Yeah, it was special. I remind myself of it often because I'm like, that was unique. You should be grateful for that. I am grateful for that. It was crazy.
And I love the idea about the crown. That's really cool. Just because yes, you are a queen, but everyone is. Right. And it goes back to even what we said before about like money or abundance. It's like, it's literally endless. Like it's not even a thing. It's not even a question. And that's why I love about the crown. It's like, no, like this is everyone's.
There aren't chosen people or not chosen people. It's just what we choose to do with our life.
Yeah. And like, but we're all chosen. Like that's literally why we're here, because we chose to be here.
It was a trip. I was not normal after that for a minute. Can you imagine that phone call I had to make to my husband? I was like, Bronze, something just happened to me. And he's like, whoa, cool. Like, how do you even respond to that story? You're like, whoa, cool. Got to go to work. Like, it's just the oddest experience ever. But yeah.
Man, yeah.
It happened.
It happened. You mentioned earlier that you're really proud of yourself for, was it being a mom? Like how,
yeah.
And how you responded, like how you were a mom when you were like 26 and going through rock bottom. What else are you proud of yourself for?
I'll be honest with you, at the sake of sounding totally conceited.
Do it.
I'm just proud of everything. I am proud of the way I showed up in life. Like, my life wasn't easy, and it was cushy and nice, but even with all the material items I ever needed and parents who loved and adored me, there was struggle, and I'm not different than anybody else. Like, there were unique struggles to my life, and looking back, hindsight is 2020, because there's so many instances where I see that I could have made a different choice that would have negatively impacted my life. And throughout the struggles, I made so many mistakes, countless mistakes, but I always erred on the side of kindness and compassion and empathy, even with myself. And I always cared about others. And I never got mean. Even to Bronson, when I hated Bronson. I hated him. You know what I hated?
What?
I didn't hate him. I hated that I still loved him when I wanted to hate him.
Oof.
But I couldn't even be mean to him then. Like, and I look back at my past and my history and my story, the story I even tell myself, like, I showed up in kindness in all of it. And I think that at the end of the day, I'm really, really, really proud of that. I never went low. I always went high.
Shout out Michelle Obama.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, what else is on your heart right now? Like, what are you feeling compelled to share as we close?
I think in this last 10 months of me starting this thing and getting experiences with you, like, just, it started because I was willing to share my story. And it seemed simple and not even important, and kind of like no one would care. And maybe a lot of people don't. But I'm really realizing the importance and the impact of the stories. The story you tell yourself.
Yeah.
The story you share with the world. The story you can create. Like the future stories you're telling yourself. Like, you hear it and it's stupid and it's an Instagram meme, but like the stories you tell yourself, they matter. They matter to your children. They matter to your family. They matter to yourself. They matter to people you don't even know. There's people in India that listen to the show. They matter. And I heard it. I kind of bought into it. I like stories, but I never knew the impact of what sharing your story can actually do for yourself and for others. And I am just such an advocate for writing it out. Write it out. Maybe no one will read it until you're dead. Or maybe you want to come on a podcast and share it. Maybe you write a Facebook post. Like, your story, your truth, even if it's not figured out and even if it's messy, it matters, and it is powerful. It's powerful for you to share it. It's healing for you to share it. And the ripple effect, you don't know where it can go. And it has truly the power to change your life.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Not just now, of course now, but in general. And thank you for hanging in there. And we're all normal, but we're also all not normal.
We're all a bunch of weirdos.
Right. And that's like you said you weren't normal after that, like that bathtub experience, but you weren't normal before. And so, well, yeah.
I wasn't. You're right. You're 100% right.
And so, yeah, just like you're definitely, just a unique, special human. So like, thank you for holding this space to have a wonderful conversation. I truly appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, Ben. And I see what you're doing. I think it is so important, the conversations that you're starting, that you're having with people, the growth. Like even for me, just binging your episodes in the last week and a half, I'm like, okay, like I'm learning a lot. It's really valuable. I'm telling you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All
Absolutely.
right.
All right.
We out of here.
We out of here. Thanks for listening, guys. Woo!
Actually, no, shoot. Where can they find you?
Oh,
We have to make sure.
We got to do the weird podcast stuff
do
now.
the thing.
We got to do the thing. Okay, so I am Wake Up with Weslie on Instagram. And my podcast is called Wake Up with Weslie. You'll find it.
Easy.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
And now we're officially gone.
Peace and love, my friends. Peace and love.
Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and any other YouTube things. You know the deal. You know what to do. So thank you so very much for being here, and watch one of these videos on the screen. Woo, woo, woo. Watch these videos. Love you so much.